Hello again to a hobby overview. Today I want to talk about fountain pens and what the hobby with them is all about. So if we talk about fountain pens, we must first get a bit into other pens that are available. Because otherwise I can't explain why fountain pens are so special and are also collected and used by many people. So first of all, I've presented here the classical line of pens that are widely used. It's here a little expensive ballpoint pen. Then you've got the fine liners. You've got hard lead pens with a small tip. I here also have a softer lead pen with a little bit wider tip. So they are broadly used, for example, technical drawings or mathematics, something like that. Then also you have got the classical pencil, and here this is the ultimate pencil from Faber-Castell, which also has a cap with a tool to sharpen the pencil, and also this eraser at the back is of this pencil, this ultimate pencil. And I must admit I used that one quite a lot before I came back to fountain pens, and it was a good daily driver to take away with this cap. And you've also got a clip here on the at the cap. I really liked it. But then I got back into fountain pens. So fountain pens is a hobby that have different ways you can express it, and you can you can live this hobby. I'm the first one of the three that are available. I'm just the one who want to write with a fountain pen. So in contrast to this pens I here presented, the fountain pen does not need a pressure to be put on the paper while writing. You just glide over the paper, and also the ink helps that it's a very smooth feel. So all of these pens have in common that you have to press down on the paper to write. And that's the thing that make a fountain pen special to write with, that you don't need this force. So fountain pen, the other thing you can do with them is of course collect fountain pens. So yeah, gotta catch them all like that. There are special edition fountain pens that come out yearly from the manufacturers, and there are people out there who collect them, where you don't write with them or just occasionally write with them, but got a drawer full of pens in the collection. And there are even historical pens from the beginning of the fountain pen that are quite as expensive and can be something like money investment. So they grew in value over the time. Um, and the other thing you can do with fountain pens is that they are like luxury. So there are pens that have very much gold on it, or Pelmat, or something like that, or Swarovski is a common thing. And these pens are really expensive, and you can show status, or if you sign like a law or something like that, then politicians will perhaps use an expensive pen for that. So that are the three ways you can do fountain pens. And as I already mentioned, I'm the first one. I just want to write with them. So I will take them away and present you. This is the first pen the first fountain pen I had. It's a Lamy Safari, and that's the pen I learned to write with. So it's some type of Harlequin version of the pen, because in elementary school, when we learned writing, our friends in the school started to exchange parts of the pens. And so this is really a unique Lamy Safari, because you won't get it. Yeah, you can't buy it like that, because the parts are all exchanged from old friends of mine. So as I learned to write on the Lamy Safari, I always had a favor for Lamy. Lamy is a company that's located in Germany and is producing in Germany. And in my opinion, the pens are a very good quality, and they have a really good quality assurance. So what you can do is, well, what in my opinion is a great start is Lamy Safari here. It's a good value pen. It's a daily driver. You can scratch them, you can throw them. You shouldn't do it, but it's possible. It can take a really good beating, I would say, and it's not so important to handle them well, in my opinion, because if you lose them or they are destroyed or something, it's not so much value that you can't replace them easily. So for me, this is really a pen I would put in my pocket without second thought. The more expensive versions I would definitely protect and don't take with me just in a pocket or something. So you can get the Lamy Safari in different versions. Here is the Lamy Vista. It's a special version that's transparent, so you can see the cartridges in the pen. Then also you've got the All-Star. That's the aluminum version. This is a special version. It's a special color, like I said, the collector's editions. So this, in my opinion, was Vibrant Pink, was a special edition some years ago. And then you've got the premium line from Lamy. That are versions that are in like gold, titanium, and other versions. They are a little bit more expensive. This was, for example, a gift from me to my wife. And the nice thing with this more expensive Lamy versions is you get this cases with them, or they are packed in these cases, and that makes quite a nice gift for someone who writes and who likes to write, or like does diary. So it's really a nice Christmas present or anything like that. So we start what we are talking about. I think these Safaris are available up from 15 euros or something, and here we are talking, I think, about 40 euros or something. Don't look it up if you're interested in buying one. And I don't have fountain pens that are much more expensive than that, because as I said, I just like to write with them, and so I don't collect much more expensive pens. So the other thing you can do is, there are also Lamy, like here, the Pilot. It's a little bit more expensive. That's the pen that brought me through my Master of Science. So I wrote almost all the time with this pen while studying. And it's really nice because it's more slim, and you can put it directly into the rings of a college block. That's really nice thing to have, because it's not so nice to write with it because it's quite slim. I like the other ones better, but this advantage to have it every time with you was beneficial for me to do it. There my phone lost its power, so I will have to stitch that together. I was at the college blocks, and that's one thing I want to talk about, as you can have different paper qualities. So I have got the college block here, and it says like 90 gram per square meter. That's the density of the paper. But often this doesn't reflect the quality of the paper. So this block can be like quite harsh when you write on it, although it got 90 gram. If you take perhaps a quality paper like Rhodia, they are with 80 gram per square meter, but the feel of the paper is much more silky, and yeah, the pen glides on the paper much more. So the thing that Rhodia have is also that they offer this dot pattern. That's, I think, special for them. So the paper really feels like quite silky. This is a 80 gram version block, and I really like to write with them. There are also other mentions with quality paper like Leuchtturm or something like that. And if you want to write with a fountain pen, it's really a good idea to invest in some good paper, because then you have more fun with it. But of course, you can write on a normal college block, it's fine. Then you have perhaps, when you write, a little bit more scratchy feel, but fountain pen works on that paper too. Yeah, what I don't recommend is writing on a printer paper, because that paper, that feathers out if you write on it, because it sucks the paint, the ink out of the pen, and you have too much ink on the paper and it feathers out. So that's not recommended. It will work too, but it's not the feeling you want to get. So what's I already mentioned, with fountain pens you can have quite nice packaging. Fountain pen manufacturers do quite some nice boxes and everything, where you can gift it to something. That's, in my opinion, a great gift if you know that somebody writes like to write. So the other thing that you get are sets like calligraphy. So Lamy here again, because I like them. They offer pens like this Joy version of the Lamy pens. It's the same material that the Lamy Safari has, but the how it's called in English, the tip of the pen is for italic writing, so you get this nice look of the writing. There are different nib sizes you can have. There are 1.1, 1.5 or 1.9 as the classic italic writing nibs. And then you can also have fountain pens generally with different nibs, from fine, medium, bold, extra bold, or extra fine. So if you buy pens that are from Japanese manufacturers or Eastern manufacturers, they tend to be more on the finer side. If you buy the European or American versions of the fountain pens, they are a little bit more on the broader side. So that's perhaps something to know. Then what is a nice thing you can do is there are these converters. These are converters for Lamy pens. Of course, you can write with special cartridges. So Lamy, I've got quite a selection here, because with the Lamy pens I like to take these packages with me. There are always 5 cartridges in it, and Lamy uses a proprietary cartridge The other ones are shorter cartridges that are standardized. I think most of the pen companies use the normal sizes, but Lamy has its own cartridges. And in my opinion, for cartridges, the ink is quite nice. So I really like to write with them because it's easy. You can just swap it out and don't have to carry inkwell with you all the time. But there's also the possibility for the Lamy pens to take a converter, and if you convert the Lamy pens with a converter, then you can use bottled ink with it. So I've got here some inks. That's the problem with fountain pens, perhaps. You start quite a collection at one point or another because you want to try some things out. I like this Waterman brand, and also the Lamy brand I like very much. But there's much more ink out there. There's also the possibility to get ink samples, so that are small bottles that are pre-packed by a manufacturer or reseller. And these packages are quite nice. You can write some like perhaps 3, 4, 5 sides with it, because you only get 1 or 2 refills of the pen out of it. But you can then differ the colors very much, and you can experiment with the inks. And if you then found one that you like, you can get a whole inkwell of it and use that color. Yeah, so I'm really into this purple writing. It's perhaps not such a normal color for writing. Otherwise, the classical blues and turquoise, like I have here, yeah, are more normal to write with. But I really like the Waterman purple and also the Lamy purple. They are quite the exact match in my opinion. So I like them very much. Lamy also have some cheaper inkwells where they have the same colors that you get in the cartridges. So this is the premium line, the crystal ink line, and but they also have this ones in inkwells, and the wells are quite nice. You have in the bottom of the wells you have some paper to dry the ink up on the paper, and that's quite nice in my opinion. So what I now want to show is like with Lamy pens and also with other brands, you can get the nibs in exchange. So what I did with my Lamy pens is that I exchanged the nibs to italic nibs. And that's because I really like to write in italic, and mostly all of my pens are in a 1.1 italic nib. That's really a nice thing from Lamy. You can get every part of the pens on its own as replacement parts. So they are also all the same size. You can swap every Lamy pen. I think no, the golden nibs of them are a bit different. I think so they are special ones. But the Safari and All-Star pens can all swap nibs. Yeah, if you want to. The other thing then are like here, for example, Twisby Eco are demonstrator pens. So this pens, it's also a piston filling mechanism. They tend to have much larger capacities of ink, so that's the main point why I at some point switched over to them. Also, the demonstrators show the ink quite nicely and have a nice look on it. This one is a fine nib. Also, they've got screw caps. And this one here is also italic nib. And yeah, like you see here, the Safaris have just the nib that doesn't screw on, but also the Safaris hold the ink quite well. There are others where the ink dries up in the nibs, So these ones seals, the Twisby ones seal with a rubber ring and are really consistent. If you let them lay for a long time, you will definitely can start to write at first try with them. Yeah, so they doesn't dry out. And in my opinion, it's a great pen. It's also a good bargain because they are not so expensive. In my opinion, a great pen to start with. There are others like, for example, the Metropolitan. There are quite a lot bargain pens out there if you want to get into this hobby. Then one thing that you can do also is I made myself some pouches so that I can store the pens that they don't scratch. And if you roll it up, it's quite a nice thing to put in a pocket. This was just an old jeans that I cut and sewed this together. I then also have like a leather pouch where I put this in, so you have everything together and it fits quite nicely in a jacket. And even this a little bit expensive, more expensive pens are then protected. I say okay, it's not so bad if they get like scratched or something, but if you can prevent it, then I do it. And it was not so much work. You can buy this already. There are a lot of pouches out there for fountain pens where you can store like 3 or 5 ones and like hard cases also. So what I really like is the Goulet pen company. They're a really big reseller for pens and they've got almost everything in their shop. There's also Brien Goulet, he's the founder of the Goulet company, and he's got a very, very good and a YouTube channel I would advise you look into if you have interest in this hobby. He explains very much the basics and how you can adjust the pens and how you can clean the pens. And overall, it's a really good resource to start with and also to buy them perhaps. It's not affiliated with me. I'm just like the way they handle things and they've got really everything lined up very well. Also, the inks are well presented so that you have an idea what ink looks like. And perhaps you take a look there, and I would be more than happy if this convinces you to start with fountain pens. You can write short stories with it, you can write a diary with it. I really got into writing again after I started with fountain pens because it's really fun to write with them, and I can only advise try it out today. Buy one, start with writing with fountain pens, and if you like it, then make some gifts for the family and friends. Like Christmas is coming, and it's really a great idea, in my opinion, to, for example, gift a pen and some ink, and perhaps that gets your friends started with fountain pens. I hope so, and thank you for watching until this point, and bye.